Hey guys, what's going on? I hope you all are doing well today. My name is Elliot. Welcome back to The Fragrance Well. Today we're going to be talking about 5 fragrances that paint a very vivid picture in my mind. Sometimes that can be associated with scent memories, sometimes it's just associated with experiences, and other times it's not associated with anything you've experienced. It just paints a clear picture of what you might think something is like in your mind. 5 fragrances that do that for me very clearly. We're going to talk about them right now. Alright guys, so let's go ahead and get it started. First one is coming from the house of John Varvatos. This is Artisan Pure. John Varvatos Artisan Pure, great citrusy, woody, slightly floral, summertime vacation scent. And honestly, that's part of what paints the picture in my mind for this fragrance. When I think of this fragrance, or when I smell this fragrance, what it makes me think of and paints a pretty clear picture in my mind is really any tropical, beachy-like island. Particularly for Jamaica for me. Second time I was going to Jamaica, I actually really wanted to bring this fragrance along, but I didn't own it yet. It was right at a time when, for whatever reason, this fragrance was nowhere. It was completely sold out on all the discounters, and considering what the price goes for on discounters versus full retail, it just does not make sense to pay for it at full retail. So I had to wait. I couldn't get it in time to go to that trip, but I really wanted it because as soon as I had smelled this, I immediately thought this puts me in that mindset of being on the island of Jamaica, really any tropical island like that. The fragrance alone lends itself to that kind of vibe. That's pretty much what it is trying to do, in my opinion, is be a great warm weather fragrance for a tropical environment in particular. So insert here any tropical space that you could wear this fragrance for and it'd work out very, very well. Once again, from the house of John Varvatos, this is Artisan Pure. Alright, so the next one's coming from the house of Lalique. This is Ombre Noir. Lalique's Ombre Noir. This fragrance here is quite spicy and boozy and woody. And for me, it smells like being in a whiskey or bourbon cellar at Christmas time. I have been in a apple cider orchard, if you will, when it was cool out. So that kind of gives me a bit of a memory of smelling those Christmassy like spices. Just replace the apple cider with bourbon or whiskey. The picture in my mind aside, this is a great fragrance for the price. Amazing quality from the house of Lalique. Very well done. The peppermint that's in the opening of this fragrance is very vivid, very lively. Lots of spices to support it. You definitely get the bourbon-like qualities right up front, and it is very woody. So for me, the way I describe it with that picture is basically what is inside this bottle. I don't really get anything else from it. Once again, from the house of Lalique, this is Ombre Noir, Christmas bourbon in a bottle. Alright guys, so the next one is coming from the house of Wilhelm Parfumerie. This is London Funk. Wilhelm's London Funk. I've talked about this fragrance a little bit on this channel already. It's a very green, very woody fragrance. Has a slight cannabis-like accord, but I wouldn't really call it a cannabis fragrance per se, but that's just my opinion. To me, you have to be a true fan of green fragrances or traditionally masculine fragrances to have any chance of liking this fragrance, in my opinion. This fragrance smells like being deep off in a very woodsy, foresty area. I actually used to live in the piney woods areas of Mississippi. If you know anything about Mississippi, there's a large part of the state that is just overwhelmingly pine trees. If you're ever out in the country or out in nature where those pine trees are present, you get a smell very similar to what this fragrance is. Not exact, because this fragrance isn't necessarily just pine, but you get that same sensation, if you will. So it's a little bit of scent memory for this as well for me, but it definitely paints a picture of being in the forest, deep off into the trees, where the leaves are almost hitting your face, the wood is hitting your face, the wood is dry, and you're also getting a lot of tree sap, because the little bit of sweetness, kind of resinous sweetness that this fragrance has, to me is very reminiscent of tree sap. So once again, from the house of Wilhelm Parfumerie, trees and sap and leaves, and that's all this fragrance is, London Funk. Alright, so the next one's coming from the house of Nashane. This is Fan Your Flames. Nashane's Fan Your Flames. I have talked about this quite a bit on the channel. Every time I do, I talk about the picture it paints in my mind. To me, it is like being in a high-end cigar lounge where rum is being served in the Caribbean. The rum and coconut accords in the opening of this fragrance definitely paint that Caribbean style picture, that tropical getaway, if you will. The rum and coconut in this fragrance definitely lends to that tropical environment. The tobacco is very much present in this fragrance, so giving me this cigar lounge vibes. Rum is one of those accords that can come off in a number of different ways, because rum can be fruity, it can be smoky, it can be woody, it can be kind of whatever, however they want it to come across, really. So this fragrance definitely lends to that style, if you will, where it's somewhat fruity, but it's also very tropical and boozy at the same time. This fragrance is a personal favorite of mine. It definitely paints that picture very vividly in my mind. I have been in a cigar lounge, sort of, in the tropics, but not really spent any significant time in one. So if I ever do, I feel like this fragrance would be one that I would want to go for, because that's the picture that this paints in my mind very vividly, and also it's just an amazing fragrance. Once again, from the house from Nashane, this is Fan Your Flames. All right, and last but not least, coming from the house of the harmonist, this is Hypnotizing Fire. The Harmonist Hypnotizing Fire. Now, this fragrance has an alluring, intoxicating quality. It has a sexiness to it, so it really works really well as kind of like a date night fragrance, if you will. But to me, it does more than that. It paints a clear picture in my mind of almost watching a campfire from start to finish. The fragrance does transition. It starts off very fresh, spicy, kind of effervescent, and kind of captures your attention, kind of like a fire does in its opening stages. A fire that's blazing and burning right in the opening stages is always going to capture your eye. As the fragrance transitions, that sparkliness it has kind of becomes more and more cozy, all the way into the deep dry down, kind of like a fire does when it is dying down. The flames are not there anymore, but the wood is still hot. You still have smoke coming from the fire. This fragrance does kind of represent that smokiness in its own way. So it's like watching a fire from start to finish. That's what this fragrance paints a picture of in my mind. Does it very well, in my opinion, too. Most people are not gonna be that artistic when they think about, what the fragrance does, but that's something that I do, and this fragrance does that very well. So once again, from the Harmonist, this is Hypnotizing Fire. Okay guys, that's gonna do it. That was 5 fragrances that paint a very vivid picture in my mind when I smell them and wear them. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and also hit that bell icon if you do subscribe or are already subscribed, so you can get notified when I upload new content. Remember to be well and smell well. And I will see you in the next episode of The Fragrance Well. Have a good one.